What's up? Welcome back. I'm John Stark from MikeTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic. And today, I'm taking a second look at The Brutalist. I was offered a screener of it the first time without audio description. I now have seen it with audio description for your astute viewing pleasure, and we shall discuss this film a little bit more now that I have seen it this way. Make sure to click like and subscribe. Today I'm wearing my purple baseball cap and I have a Marvel shirt on and black sunglasses. I need to describe myself more because I do have a decent amount of blind and low vision viewers on my channel. And part of that is because I'm a blind film critic and there aren't really a lot of me. So I would love for you to subscribe because we're going to run back into the burning building that is DEI and put the fire out so we can try to get more audio description and accessibility, which is like the whole thing that I'm here to talk about. But I'm going to do it through the Brutalist. Very roundabout way of doing that. All right, so so I saw the Brutalist and bought it on digital because it was in my top 10 films of the year, and I was like, you know what? Yep. Plus, if I get it through Apple, I can always do the speed modification anytime that I want. I didn't do it this time, but I actually sat and enjoyed that 1 minute intermission that we get. I heard that when you saw it in theaters, that you got a countdown, and you could hear in the audio description, like you could hear from 15 minutes, like it would give you an update or something like every minute or so. So, yeah, I didn't have that. It's a 1 minute, and then the movie's back. It tells you about the picture. That's the intermission. And on my screener too. There was no intermission on the screener, which I didn't have audio description at the time, and I thought there was, like, we had just skipped it, like they just merged the film together. But I'm thinking what probably happened was I had about that minute, and I assumed that it was just like, because there's still score, like there's still some stuff happening. That it was just, they were looking at something and I would get context to it later, you know? So, easy breezy. It's not 3 hours and 34 minutes if you don't have a 15-minute run, 15-minute intermission. And also if you don't need to stay for the credits, which I kind of like the way the credits are described because he doesn't do them, I guess, in a traditional, like, straight scroll. He kind of did it in like a diagonal scroll. And like there were these little like punctuation elements throughout, little dots or something like that he was using. I don't know how. It was interesting how it was described because then we didn't actually get any credits. I love that. I love the context of the visuals of the credits. Now imagine names in your head. Santa Claus, editor. Marie Curie, costumes. Like, I don't know. It's I'd like to say that it's unusual for us to not have described scrolls, but it's actually more common than not. So that was, I dipped. I could tell it was Jedi Barton, and I was like, yeah, I'm good. So I pieced out of the credits. So watching this a second time through, there's the great debate that's happened about the AI and the Hungarian, which I think is hilarious because I was like ready to get into this. I was like, we're going to watch it again and that's dubbed. Of course it is. Of course because we can't, as a blind people, read the subtitles. So it's just read aloud for us, which means I can't really hear. So the performance of that is like negligible for me. I would not have noticed. It would not have been a voting consideration for me of like, ooh, did they really get the accent just right? Using my super intense knowledge of this dialect, you know? No, I would not have noticed that at all. But um I thought it was cute. Because I was ready to dive into that conversation and then not can't do it. So it's still a film about an immigrant in a post World War II era who comes to America. He's reunited with his cousin. He kind of starts at the bottom rung, like most immigrants do. This is a great story, by the way. It's an immigrant story in 2025. Like, yeah, it's a 2024 movie, but I'm watching this in 2025, and while everybody else is losing their mind, I think we need to be reminded of the fact that people came here to seek a better life, which is exactly what this man is doing. Does he find it is the question that you have to ask yourself by the end of the movie. Did he find a better life? I mean, comparatively to, I don't know, the Holocaust? Yes. But, like, comparatively to the life that Guy Pearce leads. Anyway, so Adrian Brody, he's a very talented architect, and he eventually uses that. He sort of is working this kind of shitty jobs, keeping his head down, Eventually he gets into a job where he gets yelled at. He gets hired by a job by Guy Pearce's son, played by Joe Alwyn. And then Guy Pearce just pops off, fires them, gets them all out, refuses to pay. So Adrian Brody's like, oh my God, what am I to do? What am I to do? And then we don't know what's going to happen. But of course, that's, Guy Pearce didn't get an Oscar nomination for that scene. And then never to be seen again. So he pops back in, and after, I guess, realizing the talent and genius of Adrian Brody, and is like, can I buy you lunch? And he tells them all of these sort of like really horrific stories that he finds to be really interesting. And I'm like, man, rich people are out of touch with things. He's like, I went to this house and I had all the money, and my grandparents were reaching out, and this is how much I loved my mother. I went to my grandparents and I had a check for $25,000. You should have seen them. They nearly died when I gave it to them. And then I asked them what they'd do with it, and they started, it's like it was going to fix all their problems. Then I left. And they came running on. They said, but sir, you forgot to sign the check. And, oh no, I did not forget to sign. It was because of your lack of welcome that I chose not to sign. Ah! So he then gives him like a $500 check to just leave him alone forever. And it's just like, fuck you, man. Just like fuck this guy. And it's like such this long sequence. I know I like ruined like 10 minutes of the movie because it takes forever for Guy Pearce to tell that story. But he's so good at it too. That should be his Oscar moment. And what Brady wrote there is, I'm like, how many people, think. And the funny thing is, I actually have a friend who has a brother who is like uber wealthy and is always paranoid that all of his family members are asking him for anything anytime they ever bring up any, like, I don't know, special event in anybody's life, even like tangentially, like so-and-so is getting married. Oh, do you expect me to buy them a Tesla? I can't be expected to. And they're like very stingy with their money. And I'm like, no, dude, I mean, like a card? Do you not? I feel like if somebody just gave me like $30 billion, $40 billion or something like that, I would still be able to have like a reasonable response to events, be like, oh, it's your birthday. Well, I sent you a card and here's a gift card. I bumped it up a little bit because, I am, fucking ridiculously wealthy. So instead of getting you, $25 to Amazon. I went for the $100 card. Figured you could get yourself a $100 gift. But also, I wasn't crazy enough to think that everybody who's having a birthday for some reason wants $100,000 from me all the time. Who's part of my family? So you can also just do random acts of kindness. It's also a possibility. You could just, be randomly charitable as you go forth in life. But I mean, so many things. Clearly, Guy Pearce is not, which is really indicative of the forward motion of the movie. So at no point does Guy Pearce ever present himself as being like a reasonable person or a kind person or a person whose character arc is going to swing in the right direction. He seems very much like a referendum on the wealthy. And I think Guy did a really great job with this role, and I stand by that. I've seen this film twice, and I think Guy is fantastic. Some people say he's a bit much, and I'm like, yeah, I think sometimes the wealthy are eccentric and are a bit much. Like, I think Guy Pearce looked at a lot of wealthy personalities and saw, everybody saw a lot of people. I'll try to stay neutral, and saw big personalities and thought, well, I'm going to do that. So I think it's fair, Felicity Jones comes into the movie after about an hour and a half, somewhere between the hour and a half and 2 hour mark. I wasn't exactly clocking the time. She comes into the movie. And physically, I should say, I think we heard her voice ahead of this, but she actually shows up playing the long-lost wife to Adrien Brody. She's a little bit changed. Things are a little bit different for her. She's not quite the way that she was when she last saw Adrien Brody. Of course, they've been getting older, and the toll of concentration camps, I guess, took on Felicity's character, have left her in a slightly different state, but she's ready to rejoin, life. And I love when she's sitting at the table, she casually drops that she has education from Oxford, which is like, I don't know, like getting gold straight from Fort Knox. It's the place you go. Like, you want the most knowledge. Most people just assume it's Oxford. So, I think maybe Guy Pearce is a little jealous of that. Some stuff happens moving forward, but she kind of gets to bring a different side of Adrien Brody out, and that's what's good. Unfortunately, most of her stuff is like where the spoilers are of the movie, and that's about as far as I'm willing to go. But basically, Adrien Brody is building stuff under the direction of Guy Pearce. He's getting like a little bit of pay for it because obviously Guy Pearce is this ass motherfucker. But I thought it was good. I still stand by this movie. I think I still have this movie in my top 10. The second time through, I found enough richness in what was being added in the audio description that really gave me clarity and context. A lot of focus on architecture, which I thought was really interesting because you'd have to sort of have knowledge of architecture to know what to point out. But somebody, I think, took a little bit more time with this and actually, put something together that leans into what brutalist architecture is and highlighting it somewhat in parts of the movie. So that's interesting. I appreciate that. I like the narration. I think it's perfect for the film. I think it's one of the better audio description tracks of the year. I didn't have any problems with it. So, yep. I mean, it doesn't have quite the same level of difficulty that some things are throwing, like Dune and The Substance, where there's just madness and those films would be like unintelligible without audio description. But I think it is a very strong track for, for a period drama, which is what this is. Brady Corbet deserves a lot of praise for directing a film that he made in like 38 days. And it was a debate. I said that on a panel recently, and that person said, well, it wasn't over like 7 years. I was like, 38 days over 7 years? I heard Brady Corbet do an interview where he made it seem like he shot this film in like record time. And like it was he had a limited amount of time to shoot, and he shot in like 38 days. And I was impressed because of the scope of the movie. And that's a pretty quick filming. So, you know, when you think about how movies shoot sometimes for on and on and on, and he knocked it out of the park for this, sweeping epic, with all these setups and everything, but he did it for under $10 million. That's the thing, is he did it on the cheap. This movie's really independent. It's really a frugal use of, Guy Pearce's character would be proud, a frugal use of money. I think Brady has put himself on the map. I think part of the reason why he's not winning a lot of director awards is because people still see him as an actor turned director. So he's having a little bit of that fight. So almost like the nomination period has been a warm welcome for him as a director. Like, welcome to the director's table, Brady. We'll see what you do next. I would argue the fact that I don't think many people know he's a director, he's an actor, and that he has as many acting credits as he does have. He just doesn't really have memorable roles as an actor. I could see why he transitioned, because he didn't really need to stay an actor. If you want to be a director and your acting career is kind of stagnant, by all means, make the jump. So, I definitely recommend The Brutalist. I don't know what it's going to win at the Oscars. Obviously, Adrian is the front runner. If they're willing to give him a second Oscar for Best Actor, he's the front runner there. Felicity's part of, a group of women who could surprise in supporting actress if they just don't go with Zoe, if Emilia Perez just does horrendously bad. But I think it's probably going to be score, maybe something else like cinematography. It could just be like 2 awards. I guess it has a shot at screenplay and director, actor, I guess. So maybe like 3. This could be like 2 or 3 awards for The Brutalist. I don't think it's going to win Best Picture. Oftentimes, our Best Picture winners don't resemble the one that came before it, and if I had to pick the one that resembles Oppenheimer the most, I would pick the other sort of period drama, Suits, sort of set in close to the same period that Oppenheimer was. They're not necessarily about the same thing, but they're both really long, dramatic films set, World War II adjacent. I think probably The Brutalist has the closest link of the 10 to feeling like another Oppenheimer. So that's that. Those are my thoughts on The Brutalist after having absorbed it for a second time. The score is beautiful. In some places it's just gorgeous. The problem is that I don't remember it as well as I do some other scores, but it is beautiful. It's something that I have taken for granted, I think, a little bit, is the beauty in the score. And sometimes when I watch a movie on a second run through, it was a score that didn't necessarily beat me in the first time through. I was like, oh my God, the score. But I did really like it the second time through, which is the same thing that happened to me when I did a second viewing of Queer. I really appreciated the score even more the second time around. So, but there are some films that the first time through the score is like, well, score. Unfortunately, one of those films was Dune Part 2, which was deemed ineligible, but I thought Hans Zimmer scored the hell out of that. That's neither here nor there anymore, but The Brutalist, what am I going to give it? I'm giving it an A. Yeah, it was my projected grade for this movie. And after putting it in the top 10, which I already put out my top 10, and then I rewatched this movie a second time, would I have changed it? Would I have moved it up, moved it down? I think to be over 3 hours long and the second viewing for me wasn't like painful, is a good indicator of the fact this movie belongs there. Now, it is a 3-hour movie. This is never going to be a desert island movie for me where I just sit down and watch this long drama. I felt the runtime a little bit more the second time around simply because I had seen it before. Even without audio description, I still kind of knew where we were headed. But no, I still think it's a stunning achievement in cinema from 2024. So thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And remember, inclusivity is not a bad word. And I will see you guys on the other side.